And there we go. All right, welcome back, everybody. Another edition here of the Auburn Undercover podcast on the 24/7 Sports Network. My name is Nathan King. Thank you guys so much for joining us today on our Facebook live stream. If you're one of our live stream watchers on YouTube as well, we are here with Mark Murphy and Jason Caldwell. Have a bit of a fun exercise to go through today. We thought, with it being draft week, and obviously Auburn will have a couple, maybe 3 draft picks. Roger McCreary could be a pretty high pick, maybe a late first rounder. More likely he'll go in the second round tomorrow. But we thought it would be fun to go through. We've got our own draft board set up, and we are going to draft Auburn's roster. So basically, here are the rules. We'll set it out. That way we can just kind of dive right into it. So each person gets 11 picks. So we'll go 11 rounds and snake through the draft. The rules for position groups. So everybody's got to take a quarterback. Everybody's got to take a running back. And then you get 2 pass catchers. So you can split that however you want. I feel like we're all going to probably go, 1 tight end and one receiver, but you could focus on the passing game, whatever you want to do. And then 2 linemen, and then on the defense, 2 defensive linemen, a linebacker, and 2 DBs. And so we'll put this up later. We'll let the subscribers and the readers, we'll let you guys decide who comes out with the best team here. And so we decided to do it by seniority. So Mark Murphy gets the number 1 overall pick. So Mark, I think I know what direction I would go. I think I know what direction Jason would go, but you were on the clock, sir, for the number 1 overall pick. Who you got?
I'm not going to keep folks waiting. I'm going to pick Cartavius Tank Bigsby. For me, he's a very, very most important player on offense this year, with maybe the exception of the quarterback, which is always important. But, they need to keep him healthy. They need to keep him fresh. And I think Auburn's going to have to run the ball this year and do it very well and be physical to have a chance to have a good season. So that's why Tank's my number 1 guy.
I think that's probably a safe pick regardless of who you're going to get at quarterback. All right, Jason, I'm interested to see what you're going to do here. I'm interested to see – I'm sure you assumed that was going to be the move. Interested to see who you think has the most value here.
Yeah, to me, there was kind of like this year's NFL draft. I thought there were 3 or 4 guys that could be right there. I'm going to go with Colby Wooden. I think Colby Wooden, as the anchor, the backbone of this defense, is such an important part of what they want to do. Can play outside and play a classic defensive end, but he's a guy that can slide inside and play tackle. We've seen him do it the last 2 years. So I think his versatility, the things he brings to the table, so Colby Wooden for me would be my pick at number 2.
Yeah, he might be, besides Tank, in terms of just pure impact. And maybe, like we were talking about it yesterday, Jason, looking at what next year's draft class could be. He could be a guy that could sneak right up, and Tank is going to be projected as a high-round pick. Colby could be a guy that could sneak up as well. Okay, so I'm going to go a little off the wall here. I wanted to secure this. That way I wasn't stuck with one of them that I didn't like, because we each have to have a quarterback. I'm going to dig a little deeper here. I'm going to go with Robby Ashford for my first-round pick, just because I'm also trying to win the subscriber vote here. I'm going to ride the hype train a little bit because I know people like Robby Ashford a lot right now. But if I've got this team, whatever, this 5-on-5 team, I think he's going to do a good job of making plays for me. Knowing, and I knew I wouldn't have Tank Bigsby, so I'm like, okay, I need somebody that I know is going to be able to do things for me outside of the pocket, but also projecting forward. I mean, he could be a fun player in the future, and so I'm going to go with Robby Ashford. That way, my offense is locked down. I've got my quarterback, and so we're going to snake this. And so now we'll get into the second round. So we'll go backwards. So I've got the first pick of the second round. For my pick here, I'm going to go with John Samuel Shenker, and that's because I think he can do a lot for you. He's your top returning pass catcher overall, and so he also can do everything in terms of a blocker. I think in this kind of setup, he's a really valuable guy. I'm glad he's still on the board here, because I think when you've got, like we're doing, 1 receiver, 1 tight end, I think he can fill both of those spots and allow you a little more versatility there with your other receiver position. So I think Shenker's going to be such a valuable player for Auburn this season as well. He's such an important piece that Brad Bedell was able to get back in his tight ends room. So my first pick of the second round is John Samuel Shenker. I'll throw it back to you, Jason.
Yeah, much like the regular NFL draft, when positions start coming off the board, it kind of forces you maybe to change a little strategy. changing my strategy a little bit. I'm going with Landen King as my number 2 pick. I just think with the need areas, trying to find a playmaker at wide receiver, he's a guy that's I think he's going to get more and more involved in the offense. And so for me, I think Landen King is a guy that brings something different to the table for this team. So I'm going Landen King with my second pick.
All right, Mark, has your strategy changed much at this point?
Not really. I got my lead dog on offense, and now I'm going to get my lead dog on defense. Owen Pappoe is my next pick, the linebacker, and keeping him healthy and having a big junior year is going to be paramount for this team. He's his senior actually. He's played 3 years, but hardly played at all last year, and he was really missed. So if they can get him healthy, ready to go, he's a difference maker.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to go that way too. So now we will head to, I believe here, if I'm doing this the right way. No. Mark, you're going to repick here. Yeah. So you got it again.
Staying on defense. This guy might be the best player on the team. Derick Hall, edge rusher. That's where I'm going with. And I have tremendous respect for this guy as a person and as a player. He's gotten better every year. And I think he could be not only an all-SEC guy this year, I think he's got the potential to be an All-American.
Jayson, what you got?
Yeah, that's a really good pick. And I think that leads me to an obvious choice now. I'm going with Leota. As the other side of that edge spot. When you start talking about, strength of a football team, you look at front. And so Colby Wooden, Leota paired together. I'm going to go there, and I feel like that's a really good value pick in the second round for me. Third round, thanks.
There's a lot of good defensive value guys now off the board at this point. Derick and Owen there were good ones, I thought, for you, Mark, as well. Eku and Derick could have really big seasons at that edge spot. So without a pure pass rusher there, I guess I'm going to try to go with the best remaining defensive lineman, try to lock him down. So I'm going to go with Marcus Harris for my third round pick. I think him paired with Colby Wooden is going to be pretty strong this season. We'll see what they can do. Heading into round 4 now, I'm going to go ahead and lock down Jarquez Hunter, just because I think there might be a little bit of a gap between what he and Tank Bigsby can do, and Sean Jackson as that number 3 running back. Which maybe not. Sean Jackson obviously is on scholarship now for a reason, but to kind of give that production to the offense, I think Jarquez is going to be a really good player. We just obviously didn't get to see it in the spring. So that is my 4th round pick with Jarquez Hunter. So we'll go now reverse back to Jayson.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay with defense because I think that's the calling card of this team right now. And when I think about defense and I think about the ability to cover guys, I'm going to go a little bit off the board maybe for the first pick at a position and go Jaylin Simpson. I think Jaylin Simpson is a great cover guy. He's kind of a little bit of that dog in him. And so I like Jaylin Simpson at corner and one of those guys that I think can take over one of those spots, obviously outside for the Tigers.
All right, Mark, what you got?
Going with the cornerback too. I'm going with Nehemiah Pritchett. Guy had a really good year. Is a position coach, Zach Etheridge, says not only is he good enough to be an all-SEC player this year, he's got the potential to be an All-American. When he showed up, he was skinny and athletic and fast. He's gotten faster and he's gotten a lot bigger. And I got a feeling that he's going to have a really good season. So I feel good about this one.
That's a good one. That's a good one to go into a double pick for you.
Okay, it's about time to get back over to the offensive side. I'm going to go with one of the senior citizens on this football team, Shedrick Jackson, a player who had a breakout season last year. He's back for an extra senior year. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. I'm believing in running the football this year. I need him to be a good blocker at the wide receiver position, and he's going to be a solid receiver. And he had really good numbers last year. There's no reason why he can't match those or improve those.
All right, Jayson. So we'll snake it back to you here. Yeah, you think about it. Obviously, you got to have a quarterback, and I look at kind of the there's question marks with all all three of the guys that you think about being the top guys at this position. I think I'm actually going to stick with TJ Finley. I'm going to stick with TJ Finley, a guy that has so much knowledge of this offense, a guy that obviously knows it inside and out now, being here for a full year. And no matter who the quarterback is on this team, they got to be able to run the football first. So I think he's a guy that gives you some of that knowledge in the run game, some of those things. So I'll go TJ Finley here is to lock down my quarterback.
All right, I think I need to. We might have had a misplay here on my part from not even getting one of those cornerbacks. I feel like I need to lock down Donovan Kaufman then, just because of that versatility he can give you, playing the nickel and the safety spot. Experienced, racked up some starts toward the end of last season, and so that's the end of round 5. So we're gonna. I'll throw since we're about halfway through, we'll recap it here. So Mark's team so far at running back, Mark's got Tank Bigsby, linebacker Owen Pappoe. He's got Derick Hall on the edge as well. And then Nehemiah Pritchett there at cornerback for Mark. And then Shedrick Jackson is one of his pass catchers. Jason's first pick was Colby Wooden on the defensive line. Jason, I wrote down Colby Wooden twice. I'm doing a great job at this. Who was your second?
Landen King.
It was Landen King. I was thinking Landen King, and then so Landen. That's great value there for one of your pass catchers. And then Leota was Jason's 3rd round pick, so that's a really good defensive line for him. And then he got Jaylin Simpson to be one of his corners, and then he just picked up TJ Finley at quarterback. And then I've got Robby Ashford at QB, John Samuel Shenker out there at tight end, Marcus Harris along the D line, Jarquez Hunter is my running back, and then I just picked up Donovan Kaufman in the secondary. So we'll start round 6 now. So I guess none of us have picked an offensive lineman yet. I don't think there's a ton of difference between some of these guys that are seniors, especially in a setting like this where maybe you're doing like a 5-on-5 team, but also you're, like you said, Jason, like you're projecting them forward to what they could be. I'm going to pick Brandon Council actually as my first offensive lineman. And the main reason is, number one, is experience. But number two, we've only got 2 linemen here. He's started at every position in his career on the FBS level between Akron and Auburn, at every position except for left tackle. And so, he's done a lot of stuff for Auburn as well. He's moved around. He could be your center. So I think he gives you a lot of versatility, a lot of experience. He's been a good blocker at Auburn, been a good leader. So I'm going to go with Brandon Council to be the first offensive lineman off the board. And then it'll go back to Jace from here.
Yeah, you mentioned left tackle, and Kilian Zierer is a guy that I've been waiting to kind of see his emergence. He emerged in the spring, and it's such an important position for a team. I think he's a guy that has a chance to step up and not only become a solid player. I think he's got a guy that has a chance to step up and potentially be like an all SEC type player. I think he's that talented. So Kilian Zierer for me at left tackle to kind of protect my blind side.
All right, Mark, are you going to continue the offensive line trend?
Jason just got my pick. He knows how much I like Kilian, and I think Kilian's going to be playing on Sundays. I think there's a good possibility of that. So I'm going to go. It's probably about time to go quarterback. So I'm going for Zach Calzada, and boy, he sure threw the ball well in the spring, and he should be full speed, ready to go this summer. He had his left shoulder cleanup operation, so that's a good thing since he's a right-handed thrower. And I think I need to pick an offensive lineman now. There's a lot of good choices, but I'm going to go with Nick Brahms, who's a team leader, started a lot of games, and he's going to be the brains of the operation on the offensive front. So that's my pick.
That's a good pick. So 3 of our last 4 have been on the offensive line, and then 2 quarterbacks in the past couple rounds as well. So all 3 quarterbacks are now off the board. So we're loaded up there. Jason, where are you headed next?
Yeah, when you think about players that developed and have continued to grow, I'm going to go to linebacker, and I'm going to pick Cam Riley. Cam Riley is a player that I think has a tremendous amount of upside, just scratching the surface of his ability. And so I think about pairing him up with Colby Wooden and Leota. Think about a fast, physical defensive front there. So I'm going to go with Cam Riley as my pick here.
All right, so I think I need to, again, like we talked about, the 2 best corners are off the board. I don't think I can go here with 2 like true safety types because Puckett is still there, and that's a good one. But I guess I'm gonna keep up the Oregon transfer pipeline here. I'm going to go with DJ James just because he's their next cornerback. I think they'll need like a true corner here. He's a guy that, I mean, the last we saw of him, he was a starter at Oregon, and he was their highest rated defensive back on the entire team, according to PFF, for the season last year. Started every game except for the first two. Had some really great plays against Ohio State. He had a pick 6 to seal the game against UCLA. So when he came from Oregon, Zach Etheridge said, look, he's coming to take a job. And I think that's exactly the kind of competition that, Jaylin Simpson and Nehemiah Pritchett are looking for to better themselves. That they look like they're going to be Auburn's top 2 cornerbacks. But I'm gonna get my other defensive back here with DJ James. That way I've got a true corner there on the board. So heading now to round 8, I'm going to fill out my offensive line here. And I'm going to pick up Alec Jackson. So I'm going to got Brandon Council and Alec Jackson. I think really doesn't matter which side you're going to put those guys on. They've both done it in the past. Alec Jackson, he was working at right tackle in the spring. He started at left tackle before at Auburn. He played some guard last year. So a lot of experience. Another guy who came back for his COVID season. So Alec Jackson will fill out my offensive line there. And Jayson, will throw it back to you.
Yeah, it's a good pick. And I'm going to stay offensive line. With the mindset that looking for out of this team, I'm going to go with Keiondre Jones as my next pick on the offensive line to go with that physical side, ground and pound running game. He's a guy that really developed in the spring until having a little bit of a knee tweak that kind of cost him a few weeks, but he was coming on strong and just kind of waiting for him to take the next step. And so Keiondre Jones, my pick here.
All right, Mark, you get 2 in a row here.
All right. Once again, Jayson got my pick. That's fine. I'm going to go defense, and a guy that is probably going to have his breakout season, I believe, as long as he stays healthy, is Zion Puckett at safety. He's played nickel. He was an all-around athlete in high school. Went over and watched him play against his rival high school. He was a quarterback that night. He also played linebacker, played safety, and he played cornerback in that game. And Zach Etheridge has been really high on him. He practiced in the spring, but he didn't have contact. But he should be ready to go this year. So, the guy he's played a lot of football. He's 6 feet tall, close to 230, and he's the kind of guy you're looking for in the secondary because he understands what's going on out there. So I like this pick.
All right, now you get to load up, Mark, to start. So we're in our final 3 rounds now. And so this is your second to last set of picks here. So you get to start us out with round 9.
Okay. I'm going to go with another linebacker. We'll see. I'm not absolutely convinced this guy is going to be a starter this year, but I think he's got a great chance. I'm going with Wesley Steiner, the linebacker, probably one of the smarter players on defense. He's very dedicated. He's gotten better every year. With the 2 linebackers who were the leading tacklers last year gone, it's going to be a great opportunity for him to step up. He was a leading tackler in the A-Day game. So that's my logic. And, he was a very heavily recruited kid. It's time for him to step up now.
Jayson, I think running back, receiver, and then you've got one other spot still available here. I'm interested to see what you go here.
Correct. I think with the running back secured, both you guys have already made a pick. I can let that one slide another round. I'm going to go receiver, and I'm going to go Javarius Johnson. You look at playmaking ability outside. He's a guy that's shown more of that. It's just a matter of staying on the field for him. But I think he's a guy that has a chance to have really a breakout type season for Auburn. So Javarius Johnson, my pick here.
I think that's a great pick. That was my pick. I'm going to go with the second receiver that I wanted then. And that's Malcolm Johnson. I think there's a lot of other options here on the roster that could have good seasons. Tarvarish Dawson could be a sleeper for this team. Xavier Capers, I think we all agree that, if he were to be a guy that puts it all together, could be a really good SEC receiver. But Malcolm Johnson's been kind of slowly charging up over the past couple seasons. Has just gotten more and more involved. Hasn't necessarily splashed in a big way. He had a good touchdown last season, became a more consistent player. But all the buzz from spring was that he was a guy that was making a difference there. And so I'm going to go with him as my other pass catcher to pair. So I got a little bit, differing skill sets there with a John Samuel Shenker who can do a little bit of both at tight end, and then a speedster in Malcolm Johnson. So I'll get us started now with round 10, my second to last pick. I need a defensive lineman. I still need a linebacker. So the second D lineman that I am going to pair here with Marcus Harris. I was thinking about Jason Jones, I'm going to go with a guy that we've seen, though, have some more production for Auburn, and that's Marquis Burks. I think Jason Jones could be a better player on the interior this season. We'll see. But Marquis Burks, when he had a couple games he missed because of injury last season, but toward the beginning of the year, very, very efficient player. I think he had 2 forced fumbles in the first 3 games or something like that. A guy who's gotten better. I think his experience is going to do him right this season. And so I'll go with him as my other defensive lineman to pair there with Marcus Harris. Don't necessarily have a pass rusher, so that's okay. I'll just have to do it with brute force, I guess. So, Jason, now we head to you for your 10th round pick.
Yeah, there's some options for me in terms of another secondary player. I'm going to go with a true freshman, but I'm going to go with maybe a surprise that I'm going to go with J.D. Rhym because of his ability to play the nickel, his length there. I think he's a guy that's going to be a really valuable player for this team. I was torn between him and Caleb Wooden. I think Caleb's going to be a guy that's going to have some opportunities, but I think JD, because of his nickel ability and that length, I want to go with him right here as my 10th pick.
Gotcha. That's a shocker. I think that's probably one of the more surprising ones. So Caleb Wooden remains on the board, it looks like, at the end of the draft. So Mark, your final 2 picks now. You get to double it up here to bring us into the final round.
All right, I'm going to go with one of the most important players for Auburn this year, I believe, is going to be Oscar Chapman, the punter. Had a great sophomore year, and I think he's got a chance to be an NFL player down the road. So, can we draft punters?
I didn't have it on the board, but I'll
got plan B. Okay,
well, you could put him at receiver. That tends to work.
No, I'll tell you what. I'll go with Jason Jones because I needed a big guy on the defensive front.
I'll give you both of them.
That's who I'll go with, and I've got another guy too to go. So we're going to stay off special teams. I believe Luke Deal will be important as an H-back tight end guy. He's played a lot. He's a proven blocker. He's a really good athlete. He was a high school quarterback, a really good basketball player, smart guy. And I think this is going to be a tight end oriented offense. So Luke Deal's a guy I'm going with.
All right, Jason, you're Mr. Irrelevant here.
Yeah, this is my obvious pick here. Sean Jackson at running back. I need my running back.
Meant to be, Jason.
I honestly was had I been forced earlier, I probably would have taken him second. I just think he's a really good player. I think he's a guy that's going to have a role on this team. And so Sean Jackson for me at running back kind of wraps up. And so a couple of Hewitt Trustful kids on my team.
There you go. You have that connection there. And so I'll finish us out here. The last pick. I still need a linebacker. As I mentioned earlier, I don't have a pass rusher on the D line. So I'm going to go with Cam Riley. I think there's a lot of things he can do.
I've already picked it.
Oh, where I must have missed that.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I see it now. Okay, that's fine. I'll do Eugene Asante then. As somebody that comes in with a lot of experience from North Carolina, I'll be interested to see. He's one of the guys like the transfers they have right now that really could go one of a bunch of ways. It'll be interesting to see what Owen Pappoe does when Owen comes back, like how that production kind of fills out. And so I think the linebacker spot is one of the more interesting positions now, not only in this draft here, but moving forward. And so, all right, so that's it for our 11 round Auburn roster draft. There's not a super easy way if you're watching the live stream. Not a super easy way. I was trying to get them all written down as we went along, but it was also difficult to talk and do that. So what we're going to do is within the next 24 hours, if you head to auburnundercover.com, I'm going to put together the teams. I'll put together the draft round by round, and then we'll share it. We'll say who had the best team, whose team would win in this situation, whose players do you like the most. I don't know. How are you guys feeling? Do you have any regrets about any of your picks?
No, I feel good about the picks, and I enjoyed doing this, and it was a good idea, Nathan. And I'd pick the whole dang roster. We'll sit here to do it if we had time to do it.
Yeah, maybe closer to season that could be something.
Yeah, we'll do it again and have it. Yeah, and it's difficult to do in a short stint like that, but I think it's better for the quick turnaround with the NFL draft coming up. But yeah, because you're not putting together a complete team, but this is more like an NFL draft where you're looking at, okay, what guys do I feel like are going to help in terms of say, hey, this Auburn, if you're drafting for this Auburn team, and that's what you're looking at. So I thought it was a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Yeah, no real regrets. Mark had grabbed Luke Deal. That was a guy that I was really close to grabbing there. Almost went with a double tight end set with him and Landen King, but I decided that playmaker ability outside with Javarius maybe trump that a little bit. So.
Yeah, I think that's probably the top. That's probably my top receiver would have been Javarius. Yeah, I guess my only one would be, I guess at the NFL draft, if you submitted a card that somebody's already taken, that probably would not go over super well.
Well, you might miss. You might get out of your. Somebody might grab the next guy before you get your other pick in. That might be it. So.
I would not be. Don't put me in the war room. I would not be a very valuable asset. All right, so we'll get out of here. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, gonna put this up. I know it's probably difficult to keep track of all of it as we went along, but we're gonna put up a story, and so you guys head to Auburn Undercover on auburnundercover.com. Within the next day to check it out and go. And I'll set up some system. You guys can vote for your favorites. We got to let Jayson get out of town because Jayson is heading to Knoxville this weekend to cover a huge baseball series. Tennessee is still number one, correct?
Number one with a bullet right now. They're number one and rolling along at the moment. 17-1 in the SEC. You got 3 losses overall, and they're rolling at the moment.
And Auburn comes in with a 7-game winning streak and having just swept their last SEC series. So should be a really, really good series there in Knoxville, kind of coming down the stretch here of the SEC baseball regular season. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Auburn Undercover podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, please go leave us a 5-star review. The intro and outro music is by Beats by Mordecai. You guys can find him on Twitter, SoundCloud, and Instagram. Until the next time, we will get you guys later. We will recap the draft this weekend. We'll talk about baseball. And so everybody enjoy the draft. We'll talk to y'all later.